It was a quiet evening in a small family-style restaurant on the corner of Maple Street. The soft hum of conversations mixed with the clinking of silverware and the smell of freshly baked bread. At a table by the window sat Daniel Hayes, a single father in his late 30s, with his 10-year-old daughter Emma. Daniel looked like any other tired but devoted dad, his sleeves rolled up, his hair a little messy, his eyes holding a hint of exhaustion, but his smile softened whenever Emma laughed. To most people around, he was just another man grabbing dinner with his little girl. No one could have guessed what he carried inside: years of discipline, scars of battles fought, and instincts that had been sharpened in the most dangerous corners of the world. Daniel was once Navy, but he never told strangers that. He had left that life behind, or at least tried to. Just 2 tables away, a young woman sat alone. Her name was Claire, early 30s, wearing a simple blazer and jeans, her laptop bag resting at her side. She looked distracted, glancing at her phone now and then, lost in thought. Daniel noticed her briefly when Emma spilled her juice, and Claire had kindly offered a napkin with a warm smile. But only minutes later, the atmosphere of the restaurant shifted. 2 men pushed through the glass doors. Their heavy steps, their restless eyes, and the way they scanned the room carried an air that immediately unsettled Daniel. Years of training made him notice things others would miss: the clenched fists, the whispered words between them, the way one of them kept staring at Claire as if they already knew her. Daniel's gut tightened. He didn't want to overthink. He wanted a peaceful night with his daughter. But within seconds, his fears proved right. The taller of the 2 men marched toward Claire's table, his voice low but sharp. "You thought you could ignore us," he hissed. The other man stood behind, blocking her way out. Claire's hands trembled as she tried to respond calmly, but her voice cracked. Other diners looked away, pretending not to notice, fear keeping them silent. Emma clutched her father's arm, whispering, "Daddy, what's happening?" Daniel's heart pounded. He knew he couldn't let Emma see something terrifying, but he also couldn't sit by and do nothing. When the first man reached for Claire's arm, Daniel stood. His chair scraped against the floor, silencing the room. He walked over with steady steps, his presence commanding without a word. "She doesn't want trouble," Daniel said calmly, his voice firm but controlled. The men sneered at him, laughing. "Mind your business," the second one snapped. Daniel locked eyes with him, unflinching. "This is my business now," he replied. In that instant, the situation exploded. The first attacker lunged at Daniel. Time slowed in Daniel's mind. His body moved before thought, 15 seconds of precise, controlled action. A quick sidestep, a grip on the man's wrist, a twist, and the thug was on the ground groaning in pain. The second man swung wildly, but Daniel blocked the strike, countered with a move so efficient and sharp that the attacker stumbled backward, gasping for breath. Chairs toppled, gasps filled the restaurant. To the untrained eye, it looked like a blur. In just moments, both men were disarmed and pinned, completely overpowered by someone who looked like just a single dad in jeans. Then, silence. Heavy, stunned silence. Claire stared wide-eyed, struggling to process what had just happened. Emma's small voice broke through, "Daddy." She looked both amazed and scared. Daniel took a deep breath, releasing the men and stepping back. "Stay down," he ordered them with the authority of a soldier who'd faced worse than this. And for the first time, people in the restaurant understood this man wasn't just a father. He was trained. He was Navy. The attackers scrambled out, humiliated, leaving the restaurant in chaos. The manager called the police. Other diners finally exhaled, whispering to each other about what they had witnessed. Claire's hands still shook as she looked at Daniel. You saved me. Who are you?" Daniel sighed, glancing at Emma before answering softly. "Just a dad trying to protect people." But the truth was obvious. His movements, his calm under pressure, his sheer presence, it all gave him away. Someone murmured from across the room, "He's Navy." Has to be. Later that night, as the police took statements and the restaurant slowly returned to order, Daniel sat back at his table with Emma. She leaned against him, her little voice filled with curiosity. "Daddy, why did you fight like that? How did you know what to do?" Daniel kissed her forehead. "Because sometimes, we have to protect people, even when it's hard. And because I made a promise, a long time ago, to never walk away from someone in danger." Emma smiled sleepily, though Daniel's heart was heavy. He never wanted her to see violence, but he hoped she would see courage instead. For Claire, that night changed everything. She later found out that the two men had been harassing women in the area, and Daniel's intervention not only protected her but helped the police finally track them down. She kept in touch with Daniel, often joining him and Emma for dinners afterward. She saw beyond the tough exterior, recognizing the gentleman who had sacrificed so much for his daughter. And Daniel, though he carried the weight of his past, began to realize that maybe his skills, his strength, could still bring good into the world, even outside of the Navy. The challenges never ended. Being a single father meant balancing work, raising Emma, and carrying memories he couldn't share. At times, he doubted himself, questioning if he could ever give his daughter the life she deserved. Claire, too, carried her own struggles. Loneliness, fear, and scars from people who had tried to control her. Yet somehow, in that restaurant, their lives collided. And from that terrifying night grew something unexpected: friendship, trust, and hope. By the end of it all, what lingered wasn't just the fight in the restaurant, but the message Daniel left behind. That courage isn't about strength alone. It's about standing up for what's right, protecting the vulnerable, and teaching the next generation, like Emma, that kindness and bravery can change lives in ways we may never see. Daniel may have been Navy once, but that night proved something more important. He was a father. He was a protector. And above all, he was a reminder that sometimes heroes look just like ordinary people sitting at a table with their child. Call to action for video, for your channel, Be Kind Always. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done if you were in that restaurant? I'd love to hear your perspective. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an inspiring story. This is your channel Be Kind Always, where every story reminds us that courage and kindness can change the world.